Welcome once again back to the lab. It is your old Professor Pilk, and of course we need to talk about the Tyranitar raid that dropped in the game last night. There is much to discuss here. This raid is kind of brutal, so let's first talk about what he does. So moveset-wise, this guy is going to have on his disposal Stone Edge, Crunch, Earthquake, and Shadow Claw. Now, he is going to open up with the Focus Energy, and he does do Dragon Dance twice in the early part of the fight. So you have got to deal with a lot of damage, and he will increase his speed there quite a bit. So if you don't mitigate those, you're going to have some problems. Now, we do have a way to mitigate that, and we'll talk about that here in a moment, but that Focus Energy, we're actually going to use as a weapon against him. So to talk specifically to the Krookodile build, obviously he's a ground dark type, so he's got a lot of resistance to this. Essentially, the only move that is going to be in his repertoire, is going to be in Tyranitar's repertoire, is Earthquake. And essentially, we can keep that resistance by using a Stellar Terra. Now, a lot of you guys have said you don't have the DLC. That's fine. Use a Dark Terra. It doesn't really open up that much more damage. You're still going to be okay. This just gives me, basically, it makes it a little bit slightly more predictable in that he mostly only uses Earthquake, with rare exception. But a Dark type or Dark Terra type will work just fine here. I am also running a Shell Bell, so remember, as we produce damage, we're also getting health back. We run that in every Terra raid for the most part, unless we're doing already a healing attack move anyway, but Shell Bell, your main item. Now, the main reason we're using him is Anger Point. Anger Point is a great ability, because what this is going to do is whenever he gets hit with a critical hit, it maxes his attack stat. In other words, basically, instead of having to use buff moves, we just basically wait for a critical hit to land. Now, we do kind of want that to land on our terms, and that is a factor. We'll get to that here in a moment with the moves. But if you're going EV training, I went attack and HP. I wouldn't do defense only because I think HP is going to be a little better with that critical hit ratio. He's going to kind of go around your defensive stat a little bit. So I think HP is a little bit better here in this situation. So attack and HP, going to make your life so much easier. Now, move-wise, obviously we're going to talk about Power Trip here in a minute, but first I want to talk about Substitute. Remember I said we want to take a loss on our terms? So, we'll take a critical hit on our terms. Substitute is essentially going to allow you to absorb a little bit of damage early and then basically mitigate that critical hit. Because if he crits your Substitute, it's not going to give you the boost. Plus, he's going to remove stats at 85% timer. So if he manages to hit you with a critical hit and you get that stat boost before he nullifies stat changes at 85%, essentially what's going to wind up happening is you'll have to take a feint to come back in and get that boost again. You can only activate that ability once per feint. So that's why we're using Substitute. Substitute will hopefully eat the critical hit attacks, and then we'll kind of move on. He will do Dragon Dance twice during the fight, one at 75% timer, one at 65% timer, and we're going to use Taunt basically to mitigate that. They happen fairly late in the fight, so you might have to just literally ride the timer, and we'll talk about that during the battle, but that is what it is. It's a thing. Or decisively feint at the right time so that the timer diminishes when that happens. This is all about timing and execution. Hone Claws. So, before we talk about Hone Claws, let's talk about Power Trip. Power Trip is only a power 20, but it gets a 20 power boost for every attack stat you got. So in other words, we get the ability to go off. That's 6 stat boosts. That becomes from 120 to a 140 power attack. Then 20 more attack per Hone Claws you get off because you get an accuracy boost on top of this. So if we get 3 Hone Claws off, essentially we are now at a 200 attack power move, which is insane. Completely insane. So, you're going to open up with Substitute. You're going to hit him with Power Trip a couple of times to kind of wear him down. In fact, I would put some PP ups in Power Trip because I'm not sure 10 PP is enough to get this over and done with. We'll see when we get into the match. But early Substitute, 1, maybe 2 of them just to kind of let absorb those early critical hits. While you're hidden behind the Substitute, hit him with Power Trip a couple times so you can get your Terastallization up. Turn 3 to 4 Taunt. You want to taunt before the barrier goes up because the barrier goes up at 80% HP or shield, 80% HP or timer, whichever comes first. So that Taunt needs to go up before we hit 80% in either one of those stats. Then Hone Claws periodically. Just Hone Claws at your leisure whenever you can. But once you get hit with a critical hit, Terastallize, Power Trip, and just take him out. And you'll see. Let's go ahead and jump into the run real quick. All right, so as we hop into battle here, okay, so we do have an Intimidate Mon. We have Arcanine to deal with. That changes things a lot. I kind of would prefer not to run this with an Intimidate on, but there's 3 on deck, so your odds of not running with one of them are pretty slim. Remember, they don't affect the critical hits at all. It's only the non-crits, and we do probably want to take a Decisive Feint at some point, so we're going to open up with a Substitute. Now, with any level of luck here, Tyranitar won't hit a crit on this first attack. The whole reason the sub's up there, though, is in case he does, because if he does, then we got to make some changes here. So now I'm going to open up with a Power Trip, and that basically is going to just allow us to do a little bit of early damage and build up our Paralysis. Okay, we have another turn that whether he hits with a crit or not is completely not even a factor at this point. He's going to knock the sub out either way here. Okay, it was a critical hit, but notice we did not get the boost from that critical hit, so 100%, that just gave us an extra turn to kind of do what we're doing. Let's hit him with another Power Trip. And then on turn 3, we need to hit him with a Taunt. Now, Power Trip's not doing damage here. What Power Trip's doing is building up our ability to Terrastalize. So essentially, when we come back in, we can Terra pretty fast. Okay, non-crit. Nullified stat changes. That's excellent. This worked out great. So actually, let's hit him with a Taunt real fast. And what the Taunt's going to do is it's going to give him 3 turns that he's not going to be able to do any status moves. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to ride the clock now until such a point at which, there we go, such a point at which he actually does all his Dragon Dances. So that is at 75% time and 85% time. So let's go ahead and check this out. He's got 2 turns left, so we can kind of play it a little fast and loose still. I'm going to do a Power Trip so that we get our Terastalization prepped. Now, critical hit might take us out here, but it's not a crisis. Okay. That hurt. We still have 2 turns left on the Taunt? How is that a thing? Okay. Whatever. We will, do we really have 2 turns? It doesn't... Oh, 1 turn left. Okay. So what I want to do now is I kind of want to ride... Well... Let's hit him with a Power Trip. I'm not too worried about what's going to happen here, because he is going to wipe us out no matter what. And then his Taunt should still be in play, so after this, when we get taken out, he should still not be able to do his Dragon Dances. Hopefully. If I played my cards right. Okay. No, we're down about 50% timer, but I'm not worried about that. We're going to come back in with full health. We'll be okay. Unless he saved his Dragon Dances for when I came back, which is possible. All right, so critical hit boost. He doesn't have anything else. So let's go ahead and hit him with hit ourselves with a Hone Claws. And we're waiting for a critical hit to come in before we go on the attack again. Okay, perfect. So now, with that in play, all of his Dragon Dances were mitigated. We just Terrastalize and we hit him with a Power Trip. And this should do insane damage. Remember, Power 20 plus 120 for all of his attack boosts. That's a Power 140. Plus 20 for the extra Hone Claws. That's Power 160. If we get 2 more of those out, that becomes Power 200. Hit him. Bam! I don't even think we need another Power Trip at this point, but, you know, it is what it is. Or I say another Hone Claws at this point, but it is what it is. Let's hit him with another Power Trip. We'll be back to full health. This is excellent. Now when we're back at full health, we can actually afford 1 turn where we do Hone Claws. So that Decisive Feint kind of worked out in my favor, where essentially we just more or less healed everything back up. Oh, the Paralysis? No kidding. Belly Bolt coming in clutch. Let's go. Let's heal again. Now, don't be afraid if you're still running a little bit behind here to use cheer heals and whatnot. 1 more of these, and we are out of the shield. There we are. We're fully healed now. Non-crit Earthquake. Excellent. Time to Hone Claws. There we go. Now we're at power 180. And remember, we attack before he does. Oh my gosh. Another paralysis. Oh, the RNG is definitely in our favor here today. So I'm going to do one more Hone Claws and just see if we can wipe him out. I'm a little worried about a critical hit taking us out. I mean, it is possible. But I think at this point, we're going to do so much damage to him. It's just insane. Oh my god, paralysis again? Yo, run this with Belly Bolt. Make your life easy. Okay. I only have 3 power trips left. I didn't put PP ups into my power trips, but I don't think I'll need to, because this should do a stupid amount of damage here. Yeah, worst comes to worst, I can always just do some more Hone Claws. That was my mistake. I definitely should have put some PP ups in a power trip. It is what it is. But I still think we're going to do so much damage here. It's just going to... We were one more Hone Claws away from just, like, wiping him out there. All right. Oh, okay. You're going to play it like that. I see. That's cool. So we basically did this on, like, 50% timer. So play it, play it safe, use that taunt, and then ride the clock to the point at which that he can no longer do his Dragon Dances. Because remember, if he Dragon Dances, he's going to be faster and stronger, and that's a bad place to be. So, cheap little tactic there, but it works. It works quite well. Let me know what you guys thought. Like, comment, share. I'll see you again soon.